Hey, girl, cute curly hairs. You're muted.
There we go. There we go.
There you go. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, ladies. One of my favorite songs. I love that. And it's kind of fun, even though, you don't know Hebrew, but you're just listening to the song and then it just starts like igniting stuff in your spirit. It just starts coming up and you're just like, wow, it's just cool. So good morning, ladies. Thanks for joining us. I want to in advance say thank you to Caitlin. She's co-hosting with us today, helping us let the ladies in here. It is not too late. If you're watching live from Facebook, it's not too late for you to join us live over here on Zoom. You do not have to have your camera on. We are not going to call on you. We are not going to make you do anything crazy. We just love having you live. And one of the reasons it's great to go live with us is that afterwards, once we stop going live here on Facebook, we actually have the after party and we get to all chat with each other. It's kind of like, at church, huh, Rebecca, afterwards when you just all stood around and chatted. The nice thing is you don't have kids pulling on you saying, come on, I want to go, I'm hungry. Or maybe you do, but I don't know. Speaking of hungry, I almost burnt my challah bread this morning. I was thinking I had it all down to the wire this morning to get everything done. And I was thinking, man, it's not time yet for my bread to be done, but it kind of smells like it's time. And I go zooming in there and it's just starting to over brown. I was like, yeah. I even dialed it back more. My stove has its own brain. It does its own thing. So it's okay. It's all fine. It's good. We have company coming. It's going to be a great day. We're in Shoftim. One of my favorite portions. You got. I can't trick you guys anymore. We are coming off of a week of Sunday. We had the most amazing prayer conference with Valerie Moody. For those of you who attended, I would love to hear wherever you're listening from right now, later, if you're replaying, however you're hearing us, I would love to hear your comments to us. Go in and comment and let us know if you were there, what some of your oh wows were. And what have you applied this week? I know one of the things for me is that, I have applied on Mondays. I'm fasting now. I'm praying for my kids and my grandkids because I'm ready. I'm ready to just fight this war, right? Rebecca, wasn't it amazing? Do you have an oh wow from the conference that you took away?
I think it was sometimes we get so busy the doing because we want to do a good job, or because that we forget to include him in everything that he wants to be included. And so taking out those moments to intentionally kind of say, no, you're here, I know you're here, instead of rushing to do stuff because you want to be a good servant, because you want to be a good, you want to have that relationship with him, and you want to do all the stuff. And stopping and being like, no, remember why you're doing this stuff. Remember, coming back to him, and then having those practical points to be able to do that.
Right.
Those steps, because sometimes you have an idea, okay, yeah, I need to change. Well, how do I do it? And she kind of just laid it out, and it was really practical. I like that.
That's what I think for me, the practical. So a lot of us think, oh gosh, well, I know how to pray. Do you? Like, I don't know. I mean, he hears us no matter what, but I feel like that we do need to grow in everything. And I think prayer is one of those things we should grow in. And for me, I was challenged to grow in this area. And I was also, her book, Hidden Treasures is amazing. We do have it on our website. It's therooted.cafe.com. And if you go up in I think it's store or resources, and it's in there, and it takes you to her page. So it's just a link to go in there and get it from her. I 1,000,000,000% highly recommend the book. We actually recorded the conference so that if you weren't able to attend live, you can also go under our events tab. You can grab the videos right there. Invite some friends over and you guys sit around and listen to it. It's 6 parts. She did 6 sessions, about 20-30 minutes a session. And you could do this for 6 weeks at your fellowships, or if you have a home group, they can come in and you guys watch this. It was so good. And I mean, Valerie Moody has been a pillar in our faith for, a long time. She'll get mad if I said 40 years, but I said it. A long time. You'd never know it because she looks 20. But she is powerful, powerful woman of God, and she's a powerful woman in our faith, teaching us how to walk this out. There you go. I have one of the things that I'm appreciating is she does a course for us. And before, I know she's excited because she's working on the ones coming up right now for the fall feast, and they come out live for us. And then you can rewatch them every year. We're excited about that. So if you're in the Rooted Cafe, there, it's in your library. You can go back and see. She teaches through each one of the festivals. And a lot of you have her book, the Appointed Seasons. Isn't the name of her book? I have to go run grab it. It's right. I can see it in my bookshelf, but I can't read. It's put in the way I couldn't see it. Most of you have it as your go-to for, it has all the recipes of all the things you need to do for every, why do you do this holiday? Why is this Moedim important? What does the Bible say about it? Not what the traditions are, but what does it really say? And here's some things you can add, and here's some recipes. So I really like that. I like that about that. So thank you. Thank you, Ina Gold, the Hidden Treasures. Yes, thanks for putting that up for me. Ooh, this is a big portion.
I like it.
I like it too. Who accidentally listened on Wednesday, and I had a special person show up.
I saw.
So for those of you who happen to see, and if you scroll down, and if you're on Facebook, or if you go over to my personal Facebook page, you can go to Messianic Lamb Network and watch it as well. It's always there on the replay. You can watch. But Brenda Straub came in, and it was really fun. She came in and taught the portion with me, and it was really fun to jump in and dive into things. We're praying that she'll be able to come back with us at least once a month in October. So she hasn't taught with me since March.
Wow.
I know. It's been a minute. It was awesome. Thanks. Yeah, Missy, it was awesome. It was so fun. So those of you who got to watch it, it was really fun having Brenda on there with me. But Rebecca, we have a lot to go over. We're going to talk about they're appointing judges. We got investigations and witnesses. We got Torah for kings. How is that different? I don't even. Occultism. We've got the prophet is promised. We've got cities of refuge. We've talked about already. We've got confidence in battle. We're going to talk about purging innocent blood. It's a lot to go through in just a little thing. Is there anything like just off the bat that jumped out at you that you're like, I'm about to pop. I got to share this.
You know, you know how there's like, I think that the way that God deals with each person is interesting, and the things that he tends to highlight that kind of just keep popping up. And to me, it is seeing how much God takes into consideration our humanness, and how much God takes into consideration the real emotions and the concerns and all those kind of things that can go through our mind when we're facing life in whatever situation, and how he doesn't minimize it at all, and he kind of attacks it head first, and kind of like, just not attacks it, maybe that's like a bad word, but like he kind of deals with it. He recognizes it, and he kind of says, okay, let's walk through this and see how we're going to deal with it. Yeah. So for me, it's being able to see how much God loves us in being so gentle with us in the way that he does things. And so, like, in particular, when he talks about going to battle, and he talks about the different ways, hey, if you haven't been able to enjoy this yet, go back home. It's such an indicator of how much, I'm probably going to say this wrong, I hope I'm not misinterpreted, but how much he doesn't care what you do. He cares about your heart. He doesn't care. He doesn't need you to go fight his battles. He doesn't need you to go do things. He allows you to be a part of things, but he doesn't need you to do it. And if there's something that takes precedence over it, for example, you haven't been able to enjoy your vineyard, or you haven't been able to enjoy your new house, he takes that into consideration and says, no, go home and go do that. There'll be time for you to do something for me. So for me, it was that kind of just seeing that the way he loves us in that way.
That's good.
And it's funny because you look at these, a lot of times I've heard people say, or I used to kind of think it too, like you'd read Leviticus and you'd read Deuteronomy, you're like, oh my gosh, it says don't do this and don't do that, and you just kind of, your eyes glaze over because you're like, God is just saying, don't do this, don't do that, do this way, blah, blah. But you're not paying attention to the fact that this is his way of saying, I love you. This is how I want to take care of you.
Oh, that's so good. That is so good.
So that's kind of what stood out to me.
That is so good. It's interesting that you I mean, look, I feel like today I knew when I was praying about this when I say I feel like we're going to be all over the place, but it's going to be good all over the place. And I'm excited that because this is the spot that I sat into this week. I really sat in this. I know I talked a little bit about it, but it really just hit me. It's like he cares about all those things. And I'm going to take two different paths on this. So I'm going to stay on this caring path. I was listening to Aleph Beta this morning on this, and he was talking about the Shoftim, and if you, that's who's the enforcers, right? The police department or whatever. That's their job, and their job would be the ones that, as we're getting this army together to go to battle, the Shoftim are going to be the ones who go out, and they're going to say, "Oh, you got a vineyard? Okay, go home. New vineyard, new orchard, go home. Oh, you just bought a house? Okay, everybody who just bought a house, thank you. Okay, all of you to the left, y'all will be going to the left. Okay, everybody who is betrothed. Okay, everybody, you will be going this way. There had to be people who that's their jobs. He actually gave jobs to people. It wasn't just, so I'm an organized person. I like things to happen a certain way. And I mean, you just spent a weekend with me, Rebecca, and you're like, I'm leaving 5 minutes. Bye. It's like, this is how things happen. And I love that my husband is the same way. So our home runs that way. We like things happening at a certain time, and even my bread down to the minute. It's like, this is where we already knew what's the movie for the day. Our God is a God of organization. Of course, we don't have to be so like rigid that we're not flexible and there's no shalom in it. But ladies, I have to encourage you. We have to bring shalom in your home. Sometimes you gotta slay before you can slay the demon. You gotta slay all the dishes. You gotta slay your laundry. I mean, there's some things we need to get in order because that's our job, is to get in order. Sarita, I can see you up at the top of my screen going, yes. It's like, I'm going to give you a tip. This is a pro tip from an old lady. If you have ever worked in a restaurant before, full hands in, full hands out. Leave the room better than you walked into it. You would be shocked at how many times you walk in and out of a room and your hands are empty. Pick something up on the way, wipe something off on the way. Do something different on the way. And what you'll find is you're kind of moving and you're just doing it all the time, and you don't have to do some big giant, cleanup. I also set a timer and I'm like, ready, set, go. I have like 30 minutes. How much can I get done in 30 minutes? I can tolerate anything for 30 minutes. And I know what does this have to do with this portion? It has everything to do with this portion. He cares about the little things. We want to get the little things down. Is your home? Do you need time with your home? Do you need time to get your home in order? We've got some celebrations. Sydney, our community manager, just had a new baby. And we also had Amber. She's in here. Amber, who lives around the corner from me. She had her baby last night. Asher was born last night at I don't know. She was texting me while she was pushing. Oh, not now, I'm pushing. Really? There's fun things happening all around us, and we want to be so ready for those things that if we want to be, and I think that it's also about being in the moment, right? Hurry up and get the work done and things you need to get done so you can be in the moment, so you can be present. That's what this was about. They couldn't fight because they couldn't be in the moment because they would be distracted. There would be a distraction. And that's the flip side of this that I got. Is that, well, let me go back to these what are they called? The Shotrim. Those Shotrim are the police, right? The only other time we've heard about those is way back when they were working for Pharaoh.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. And Pharaoh was telling these Shoftim and saying, hey, go and I want you to remove this. They can't, take away the straw. That's when we hear about them, is when he says, and he's using, and I've, if you watch it, go, yes. And you're seeing, here's the way Pharaoh is going to do it. He's going to make your work harder.
Yes.
This is how Pharaoh does things. This is the we have empire mentality. The empire mentality is that we're going to make things harder. We're going to put stress on you. Here's kingdom mentality. There's a time and a place for everything. There is a time to rest. There's a time when you're distracted. So I want you to spend the time doing what you need to do so you're not distracted. And so there's these two sections. We see these two different ways where this job is, these police officers or these enforcers are coming in. When they're working for Pharaoh, they were making the work harder. When they're working for the Holy One, they were making the work easier. He was caring about their heart. He was caring about their families. I also took this a different way, Rebecca. I literally spun this around, like sitting in it. And I put it, how does this apply to my life? Like, how does this apply to my life? Like, how does this matter? And I noticed that you have, the vineyard If they have a new vineyard, they can go. If they have a new betrothal, they can go. If they have a new home, they can go. And then randomly, number 4 is, oh, and if you're afraid, you can go. And I thought about that, like, can you imagine standing in the group of everyone there? Okay, who here is faint of heart? Who's scaredy cats? All of our cowards, raise your hands. You, great. You guys all leave. You can't go.
Exit stage left.
Right? How did that happen? Like, what did that look like? Were you like, yeah, it's me? Like shame. Everybody's walking. I'm scared. I'm gonna go.
Especially in that culture. Yeah.
Right? Who said yes? Or did they point each other out? Him. He's a look at him, scared. He's hiding behind everybody. Go, yeah, you go. Or the little kid, maybe who's really young and still he might be old enough to fight, but mentally he's still kind of young and he's a little nervous. Or maybe he's just on the edge. He's like, man, don't want to leave my family. I don't know how it was worded, but I feel like it wasn't worded like, who's the big fat chickens? Okay, you guys, I feel like it had to have been worded. I mean, when we read it the way it was worded, but I feel like it would have been received in that culture differently. Like, if you're just not ready, you're just not feeling ready, we don't hear that it was shameful, do we?
Well, and that's the important thing I'm always talking about. You have to have a premise when you're reading God's word, because if
Right.
not, the way we look at it, we might think that way. But if the premise that I had is that God loves me and God wants the best for me and that everything that God does is tov for me, then he's not going to shame me and he's not going to embarrass me. So there had to have been a way that it was received where you were able to go with your head raised high and not kind of like, oh my goodness, and kind of slink off,
Yeah.
because you were the chicken in the group, kind of.
Yeah. The 4th one, I'm gone. Yeah, so I'm curious. I'm curious about how that looked. I'm because again, it's a whole ancient Near East perspective. I have to go back and read Gail's Parsha points. If you're in the Ruta Cafe, she does a great job of doing these quick little Parsha points that gives you the ancient Near East perspective of the time. They're quick, they're very beginner friendly, but they're also will challenge you if you're more intermediate or advanced. They will challenge you to look at some things. It's kind of fits. It's just God has just blessed her. Also, we're about to publish it. So I'll just say they're about to go publish. So if you are not a member, you want something in your hands, you want to buy it, it will be available to everyone. So we're excited about getting ready to do those. Genesis is just about done. Our goal, pray for us, Lord willing, it's ready before we Simchat Torah, that we're ready to put it out with the beginning of the new year. But yeah, so I'm sitting there looking at these. So okay, so am I ready? Then I start thinking of Yeshua telling the people to leave because they didn't have faith when he goes in to heal. He says, all of you, I need everybody out, everyone out of the house, because they were faint of heart, because they blocked the flow. And how many things do we have to realize that if things are in our lives that are blocking the flow, people in our lives, maybe sometimes we're the one that we're struggling with something, or we're in a place where we're faint of heart. I think we should dig deeper into that. Like, what does that look like? Being just faint of heart. It wasn't necessarily being a coward. It's just like, I'm not ready to go. I don't feel ready to do this. And it's okay to tell someone. It's okay to say, I can't do it.
I think that maybe perhaps the message was more for the people around that person than for the person. To show the sense of community of saying,
we got you.
I shouldn't look at this person and be like, oh goodness, yeah, I don't want you next to me. You probably wouldn't take it, not to look, but to be like, no, okay, if this is your time, then go. We got this. We got your back. You go do what you have to do next time. Don't worry, And maybe it was because it makes me think of, for example, when Gideon goes and he has to fight, and God says, no, you got too many. No, you got too many. You got too many. It's to show that God doesn't need us to do anything. He allows us to be a part of it. And if right now is not the time for you, we're so, and I take this for myself, so feeling that I need to be there. I need to be working. I need to be grinding. I need to be at the front. If, I need to pick up the slack. I need to be the, I need to be there because somebody else isn't. And God's saying, no, you're not Superwoman. You're not me.
You're not me.
You're not me.
You're not me.
And there may be a time when you need to sit this one out. For me, for many years, I made a lot of life choices because I didn't want to miss out. And I didn't want to I felt like I had worked for so hard to see God move and to see God do something that I was like, if I left, at one point it was even if I left to go to college, to go away, I was going to miss out on God doing this wonderful thing and I wasn't going to be there. And I made life choices. And who made them? Me. Nobody else
Mm-hmm.
forced me to
Mm-hmm.
make them. And I had to deal with the consequences of that later on,
Oh,
because
wow.
it's God saying, you are not me. I got this, you don't. And if there's a time when you need to sit this one out, it's okay, and it will be better for you because you will come back stronger. And
Yes,
in that next season, there's going to be somebody else that's not going to be able to sit in, and you're going to be able
absolutely.
to take their place,
And you're distracted. If we look at what is the common denominator, there is a common denominator with all of these four. Distracted. Are you
Mm-hmm.
distracted because you're wondering what's happening with your new vineyard and what's going to happen is someone else going? Are you distracted because you have a new home and someone else might be getting your home and what's going to happen if I die? Are you distracted because you have a new betrothed, you have a new fiance, you have someone else is going to now take her as a wife? Are you distracted because you're fearful or you're exhausted? Or you're faint, what something you don't feel strong enough to go, what is your distraction? And I often will tell women, maybe this is where we're going today, I have often tell women, no is a complete sentence. You don't have to explain yourself to everyone. And I'm seeing so much burnout and exhaustion and none of the work-life balance. I mean, I just sent a message out to my team and said, listen, my personal texts, I love all of you. I do love all of them. If you hear this, that was what was implied. I should have put hearts and hearts all along it. But my personal phone is for you to send me friend messages like, hey girl, love you, Shabbat Shalom, missing you. That's what my personal phone is for, not for work. We have band, we have emails. That's where I want, because I need my work to stay here. We have to set boundaries, but we are so used to this thing running our lives and it's ding, 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 ding. And my number one suggestion is you put it on do not disturb. You control when you come and look at this. And you can have certain people that you put on your favorites. And when you do that, it allows a ring to come through and you'll hear that. But otherwise, you're not hearing, even though you turn notifications off, there's still like a, oh, 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 go put it in another room and decide I'm going to go look at it when I want to look at it. Because since I've decided to do that, I am not being pulled in all kinds of, I'm not distracted. So I can go to war because I'm not distracted by I've got easy 6 things on here right now that I could look at. Easy. Hop in and start reading and doing and answering and all the things. And I would be distracted and I couldn't go to war. My heart wouldn't be in it because I would be
Mm-hmm.
so distracted worrying about these other things I need to take care of. I think we are right now in a place where distraction is running amok and we can't focus and we can't fight. We have this prayer conference talking about fighting and breaking generational curses, praying over our families. I mean, you're in the middle of and but ding 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 ding, and you can't even pray because you're distracted. I mean, right? I'm already having enough time with working on tools to stay focused. Just
No,
but I saw
definitely.
that this was all about distraction. And I saw Yeshua, he's like, when he told them, get out, because I need only the people here who are here, who are mindful. They are in a mindfulness that they can be here, which means their faith was here, their mind was here. We're not distracted by your unbelief because that's an
Mm-hmm.
undistraction. Unbelief is just fear that this isn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need you to go to war with me if you think we're going to lose. I turned on some like show and it was like a cake baking show. And the guy was like, or a decorating show or something, where they have a contest. And it came on and you know how they do the preview and the guy was like, well, I might win or I might not. I don't know. And I was thinking, man, I wouldn't want someone like that on my team. Right?
Yes, totally.
Am I done preaching? No, I'm
Should
not
we
yet.
pass the plate?
Yeah, I pass the plate now. No, what I want to just encourage women is, first of all, you do not have to explain your no. You don't have to give everybody the no is this complete sentence. You controlling your time so that you aren't distracted, so you can be present. You can be in the moment and present with your kids, in the moment, present with your husband, in the moment, present when you are on Facebook or when you are doing those things. It's a moment that you've created that you are set it aside. But I also want to say, sometimes you can say, I'm sorry, that's not my best yes right now. That doesn't work for me. That doesn't align right now with what God has for me and my family. Period. You don't have to go, because what happens a lot of times is you keep explaining it and you talk yourself into saying yes. And you feel like for some reason as women, we feel like our no isn't as valuable. You do not hear men going, well, no, I can't go because, my sister did this and all this is going to happen. You never hear that. It's okay. You're not being rude. You're not being rude. It's okay to just say, I am so sorry, but that's not that's not a good plan for us. Practice it. It takes practice. I had
It
a
does
woman
take
teach me that
practice.
in my 20s. It about killed me learning it, but it was so freeing once I got off. Once you control that phone and you begin to start putting that away and you begin to create those moments to where you are actually in charge of your life and you are present. There is so much shalom in that, Rebecca, when you are present.
Yes.
Look at these guys. They would have been present with their betrothed wives, right? They would have been able to be present because they were given permission. They knew that the Holy One is the one who said they could stay home. Not, well, I guess you can stay home, whatever. The whole God told me to. So they were released. And I
And if
just want
anything, I think it would have been a challenge for them to stay home because it would have been the opposite. It's like looking at both sides of the coin, right?
that's what
Because
I'm
for
saying. When it's
some of
flip it,
them,
we can keep going flipping back and forth.
for some of them, it might have been like, oh, I could be out there and I'm just like twiddling my thumbs. Sometimes, one thing that I have learned as being a creative is that sometimes you just need to be
Mm.
to allow the creative juices to flow and for God to kind of pour into you what He wants to come. And sometimes we think that that is such a waste of time. I should be doing 50 billion other things, and it's necessary. Sometimes downtime is just as necessary as uptime. And we don't appreciate that because we feel like we're being lazy or we feel like we're being bad managers of our time. But it's a balance. The balance goes both ways, both ways. So I think it would have been a challenge also for some people for some men to be like, no, I should be out, kind of doing this, and God's making me sit here, and I can't go do, you can look at it from both sides.
All the sides. I so align with that. One of the things, it was very hard for me starting to observe Shabbat. And I would listen
Oh
to a rabbi
yes,
this week, and it was really interesting. He
yes.
was teaching about, and he said, do you spend Shabbat working and doing all this stuff? Well, you're not honoring Shabbat because you're staying busy the whole time. But do you spend Shabbat just laying around and literally doing absolutely nothing and laying? Then you're not honoring Shabbat, he said. I was like, he said, because you're not bringing the joy of Shabbat, you're just so exhausted. You come in like, then that means that you need to reevaluate your week. He said, how am I coming into my Shabbat? Am I coming in it with joy? It doesn't mean you have to go do a bunch of stuff by no means, but if you were just like crashed, look at your work-life balance. And I was like, wow, that really hit me. And I had to reevaluate that. It happened to me this week, Rebecca. I laid on the couch and turned on some like silly like kid movie, and I was like watching it thinking I could fall asleep. And oh no, it was decorating show. Let's speak, or like a clean, like the how home edit where they're like cleaning and organizing. It was one of those.
Mm-hmm.
And before I know it, I'm 3 episodes in, and the guilt starts hitting me. I have so much to do. I don't have time to watch this. What am I doing? And I started laughing. I thought, I've been up since 6 o'clock. I have already taught 2 classes. I've already studied and prepped for this. I've already done. I can sit and watch 3 shows. I'm so hard on myself. Ladies, take it from, don't do it. Just relax. And I read up here, Millie, you said they had to solidify their households first before they could be soldiers. Oh, exactly. Because they would have
Yes.
been distracted out there and they had to have known that their homes were safe. They had to know that their families could be fed. They had to know that their home was solid, that everything would have been solid at home. Like she said, solidify. That's a great word. They had to know that their vineyard was producing, that things were happening. So when they left, their family would be provided for. They had to get those things in order. And who knows what that meant? Were they faint of heart? Did they have a it's I think translated as fear. I'm here curious. What does some of your Bible say? How does yours translate it? Look at mine.
What verse is that?
Who can go to war?
It's in the okay here.
Confidence in battle. What do you guys have? Check. I'm curious to say. Oh, and a man that is afraid. It's in 20 verse 8. They often say a man is afraid and faint-hearted. Let him go back to his house so he does not weaken his brother's heart like his own. So that's the other part of this we need to say is how do we come into a situation? If you're in a situation where you are weak of heart, and it happens, we go through cycles in our life. He wasn't saying that that was a thing. He was just saying, be careful that you don't do that to everyone else. If you're walking
So
into
it spreads.
yes, it's contagious. Fear is
Very.
contagious. Negativity is contagious. Be mindful that when you walk into a room full of people that you're not coming in, and those of you who are old enough, you remember who Schleprock is, like wowsy wowsy woo woo. Like, what is your story every time you come in? Are you faint of heart? Are you bringing life? Are you building up the armies? Are you coming in saying, let's go? Are you like rallying the troops, getting everybody excited to go? It doesn't mean you have to always be that person, but if you're coming into those situations, read the room. And I'm going to not be a good, I'm not fit for human consumption right now. I need to stay away. You've heard me say that. If I'm in pre-moon syndrome, sometimes I'm not fit for human consumption. I know the things out of this are not going to bring life to the body. I'm not fit for battle. That's what I need to say now, huh? I'm not fit for battle. So I don't want it to spread. And be mindful of who then you allow to come in, especially many of you are fighting for your homes. You're fighting for your children. You're fighting for the things that God has called on your life. And then you allow people into your life that are faint of heart, that are fearful, that are telling you all the reasons why you can't do it, that are telling you all the things that are wrong in the world. Yep, that's it.
With that. Yeah. Let's sit
like,
with that.
Done. And done. I have to repeat, and I think I'm going to repeat this every single year because it is just so phenomenal to me. And every time we get into this Parsha, I'm going to repeat it, is this whole thing on the city of refuge. And Pietra, shout out to Pietra. Thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing this with us. I think you shared it in the after party when we initially talked about the cities of refuge. And I want to say it again for anyone who may not have heard it, and have it just deep inside of you, understanding that here's a thing where you could have been like, you could be out, what does it say? You're out chopping down a tree, isn't that the example? You're out chopping down a tree and the top of your axe accidentally flies off and hits your friend in the head. Okay. So I love the whole comparison of this. It's actually, you get to go into a city of refuge where the people have to actually give you the kindness and the love that you didn't give because of your axe. You should have taken care of that axe. You should have made sure that your axe was good so that it wasn't going to fly off because you could accidentally hurt someone. It's like, we need to be mindful that the things that we have, the things that we do don't hurt other people. But it's like part of the kind of the punishment for that is you have to live in a place giving you something you weren't willing to give. That's kind of, that wasn't part of Pietro's thing, but yeah.
I was thinking about that when I was listening, and I was saying to myself, sometimes the sins and the things that we have some are more visible than others, right? So some punishments are more visible than others. Yes. But I think that the way that God deals with us, when he gives us a punishment that deals with our inner being where nobody sees, it's so much more effective. Let's put it that way. Because I can lie to you and I can lie to those out there. I can lie to everyone else, but I cannot lie to myself and I cannot lie to God. The truth is always sitting there, like, right smack in your face. So when God deals with something and he deals with your heart about it, that punishment or that dealing with it is a lot more severe.
Yes.
For example, when my son was little, I did everything to try to punish him because he would just do stuff. And the thing is, you have to follow through, right? They would say you got to follow through. If you say you're going to do something, whatever. So I tried spanking, didn't work. I tried this, didn't work. I would take away his toys. And it would be like, I'm going to take away the toy for 2 weeks. He'd be like, I'm going to take the toy away for a month. I'm going to take TV away for 2 weeks. I'm going to take the TV away for a month. And he'd be like, what? And it didn't faze him. And one day I took him and I put him in his room and I said, and you're just going to sit here. And I left. That boy cried bloody murder like I had just killed him. I was in the process of killing him. It was the worst punishment for him, being separated from me and not having me close. That was much more effective. It was dealing with a need that he had that was internal. Me taking away things and doing these external things didn't mean anything. So when God dealing here, he's dealing with the internal and your emotions. You're having to deal with who you are and what you've done. You know, sometimes you look at a person, you're like, oh, that person's a drug addict, or you see the outs, you know, and you want to, or that person stole something, you want to put them in jail. It's like this outward thing. You do your time. A lot of times, you do your time, you come out, and sometimes I've known people go right back to stealing and go right back to jail. It's like it's not effective.
Yep.
But God dealing with the inner parts of you, it's so much more effective because it that is like the essence, the core of who you are, and you can't escape
Exactly.
it. You cannot escape it.
Exactly.
You know.
And he cared so much. Again, he's saying, I know your humanity. You began with this earlier. I know your
Yeah.
humanity. I know these things are going to happen. I know you're going to accidentally like back up and run over somebody with your car because you didn't look. Because you're going to be so focused on, you're going to be so busy and you're going to get so distracted by so many things. Again, this is happening. You were so distracted. You didn't take care of your acts. You didn't look where you was going. You didn't notice somebody else was coming down the road because you were distracted. I know that's going to happen. So I'm going to make provision for your distractions because you didn't take care of your stuff. So you were distracted and you accidentally hurt someone now with your distraction. We see, okay, so I brought this up and it was brought to my attention is we go to Cain and Abel, right? Was Cain really was sent to, he was the mobile city of refuge. He had a mark on his head because if truly he was killed, if he was if it was not accidental, now I believe after more reading and more research into this is that it probably more likely than not was an accident. He got mad and hit him in the head and killed him, or he whatever. The reason is because then when God came to him, he's like, "Where's your brother?" Well, my brother's keeper. I mean, it was his job to take care of him, and he didn't, and he accidentally, and he was distracted, or he got distracted by his anger. He got distracted by his flesh, and killed his brother. The reason I think it was an accident is because he wasn't killed. He wasn't,
No.
his life wasn't, God did not, God spared his life and he ended up being a builder of cities. And I think that that's the reflection on this. We have cities and he had a mark on his head. He was like a walking city of refuge. And then, so this is all so good, right? And then the part that Pietro brought to our attention a few weeks ago is that we have to remember that when the person, they're sent there so that they don't have the family doesn't come after them to seek revenge and kill them. They don't have revenge killings going on all the place. And as long as they were there, they were safe. And when did they get to leave?
When the high priest died.
Which, does that even make any sense? It shouldn't be like when the family members die, when the guy who wants to get revenge on you dies, when, I mean, something I feel like that makes more sense. But when do you get to leave the city of refuge? When the high priest dies, you can now be free to go and you are safe and you have been avenged. It has been, everything's settled, but everybody, your accusers,
Where do
everything.
we hear
What?
that?
I'm feeling something. There's a hyperlink somewhere.
Yeah.
Who's our high priest? Who is our high priest? And that that's one of the reasons he had to die was to release us from the debt. The wages of sin and death was death. And so and his gift was life. So for us to be able to now live in that and not be in bondage anymore. I mean, go back and read all your salvation scriptures you learned as a child and think of him as the high priest. Think about you accidentally committing all crimes. There's a lot of death that you brought, maybe not physically, but with your words, you've brought death. You've brought death to situation. You've done a lot of things on accident and on purpose. But your high priest died so that you would be redeemed and set free because the accuser of the brethren has no power because he's died. So he
The
cleared
blood
the debt.
avenger.
He's the blood avenger. It's done. I mean, isn't it just so cool? I feel like, okay, bye, you guys. See you next week. That is just amazing. I love it. We're getting in the chat. I'm glancing over the chats like, hallelujah. Yes, 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 yes. Katrina says, I saw it as equating to manslaughter and criminally negligent homicide. There was no intent. Yeah, there was no intent. Sometimes there's no intent. It just accidentally happened. Like with Cain, for example, it was he didn't like go around planning that he was going to murder his brother. It just happened. And he was like, okay, this happened out of anger, out of my flesh, all the things. All right. Anything else? I'm like, we've been redeemed. We've been given a way out. from all of our distractions. I feel like I feel like this city of refuge thing, and he knows already we get distracted. That's the word today. Be careful. If you're
Mm,
present, if you are present, it is so powerful. And distraction can lead to you being pulled from the war. Distractions can have you being having to be separated into a city of refuge. You might be, when you are distracted, you could be separated for your protection or the consequences from your distraction. How many of you burnt yourself because you weren't paying attention? Oh,
yeah,
just I was going to take. I have one on the inside of my arm, a big scar. It's like this big. Not paying attention.
yeah,
How many things have happened? I mean, we hear horrific stories of moms who've forgotten their children in their car just because they're so
yeah.
distracted and there's so much and babies left in hot cars. I've heard women just sobbing because I mean, every mom in here probably is going, ugh. Can you imagine?
Mm,
Because you're so distracted, or there's moms who've ran over their children by accident because they weren't paying attention because they're so distracted. There's a reason that there's all these reasons to give us a chance to regroup, stop being distracted, and get out there and make a difference for the kingdom.
I
Yep.
think that another part that is important that we kind of jumped ahead, but if you go
Yeah.
back to the beginning of the portion, um, it talks about leaders, it talks
Mm.
about judges, and it talks about kings and their position. And distraction plays into it with the kings because he says, listen, they have to have their own Torah portion, Torah scroll.
Mm-hmm.
They have to write it out. Like they have to know what it is inside and out so that they're able to govern effectively. And then with judges, it says, listen, you have a job to be like my voice on the earth. Don't twist it. Don't show partiality. Don't take a breath. You don't get distracted by the power that you can get really from it. It plays into this, and the stakes are so much higher because now you have the lives of other people in your hands and you're making a decision that's going to affect them. And so you
Yes.
have to look at it from my point of view. And when he says look at it from my point of view, then he gives examples. When he gives the examples later on in the Torah portion
Mm-hmm.
about the men going to battle, different situations that are going to arise, take into consideration who the people are, the circumstances that were surrounding the situation, so that you can make a just judgment, you know?
Right.
And I
And
think
don't be
that's
ruled
important
by
for
your
us.
emotions. Don't be ruled by
Yes,
your emotions, and don't let your emotions get the best. Don't get distracted by your
yes.
emotions that you're not seeing a holistic view of what's happening.
And you know, it's so interesting because one of the things that when you're reading about the judges that I was like, sometimes you read something and you're like, okay, it's there. I don't really get it, but let's move on.
Uh-huh.
And I heard something
Maybe
today that I
next
was like,
year.
oh, that, that makes so much sense. Is in verse 21 of chapter 16, it says, you are not to plant for yourself an Asherah pole of any kind of wood beside the altar of Adonai your God that you make for yourself, nor are you to set up a pillar for yourself. You know, Adonai hates this. And it was talking about the fact that the Asher pole was made out of a special kind of wood that was pretty. You know, it was pretty to look at. And it was this idea of not taking a bribe. It was like, don't take a bribe from men and don't try to bribe me either. Because every time that man puts their hands on something, they're putting their spin on it.
Yes.
And that's why God is constantly saying, you know, don't make images, don't do this. I'm here. There's nothing that compares to me. Don't try to kind of flower it. Don't try to put your touch on it. I'm separate, you know,
That's
and you
so
you need to
good.
respect that because you know. And so it's kind of like don't allow bribes to come to you, and don't try to bribe me by
The
trying to make
ultimate
things,
judge. The
yeah,
ultimate judge, right? Well, and
to
that's what
kind
would
of get
happen.
your way.
You're going to go into a place where there's going to be all these polytheism, and the way that they interact with their God is by making these poles and making these idols. The reason that they do all this is to bribe them, because if I bring this, then you're going to bring fertility to me. If I do this, you're
Yes,
going to make it rain. We've talked about this several times, right?
yes,
I'm going to do these things to bribe you to do my will. And he's like, I
mm-hmm.
want relationship with you. And I'm gonna have you guys go back and read something. I want you to go back into Genesis, and I want you to read about when man and woman were put into on what did he said? He said, if you read it and you read it in its exact interpretation, you'll say he made them as a graven image of himself,
Mm-hmm.
as an idol
Tselem.
of
Yeah.
himself. Yes.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? It means he created this world and we're the image of him. We're the graven image. And I mean, you're going to we'll say idol, and I'm going to poke everyone's religious spirit, and you're going to all be like, go look at the words. We're the image, he graven imaged us of himself. So do we need to make a little poll? Well, look in the mirror. You're the image of him.
Are you reflecting him? That's the question.
Exactly. Oh, and then there's that. And he's like, don't you're putting up a poll that doesn't look anything like me. You look like me.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't need all these extra. I don't need the extra because it doesn't compare. It doesn't even come close.
No, you are everything I need. Do you guys get it? He's saying, I don't need you to build anything else. I just need you.
Mm-hmm.
I want the relationship with you. You're the one that I want us to worship with each other.
And so think about how when we look at ourselves and we think that we're not good enough and we think that we're not enough, how hurtful that must be to God. How serious he must take it, yeah.
Oh, but for the grace of God. Thank you, Father, that you don't smite all of us every single moment. He's so good to us. And we're going to come back to this here, is he made provision in every sense of the way. And we see these judges appointed, and look at them. You're going to see these judges all through if you continue on and you actually read through Judges and you learn about them. Who were these judges? Were these judges these weak little men sitting up with a little black coat up on top of a thing going, okay, come to order? These are Samson,
Mm-hmm.
Gideon, Deborah, right? Let's think about some these are bad to the bone. These are some strong people. These are warriors. And he's telling them that you're going to be these warriors, but I want you to have grace and mercy and see the whole picture. And the only way you're going to do that is look at the kings have to have their own copy. When you said that, I was thinking, I would love to hear from how many of you have ever written out the Torah, that you just sat and wrote it. And obviously you probably didn't write it in Hebrew. Maybe you did. I don't know. But at least just writing it out. Like do you write out each Torah portion? I've never done that before, but I just was like, you know what? I might do that this year. Like, is that like leadership? Should that be leadership 101? As a leader of anything, should you have your own copy? I mean, we have our own copy, but is it one that you wrote out because you wrote it, and as you were writing it, you were praying that he was writing it on your heart, that it was just getting deep inside of you as you were writing it? I don't know. I think we need to go buy some notebooks. Are you challenged?
Yeah, no, and I love notebooks. So
I know this is my favorite time of year because all the back to school stuff. It's so exciting. All the colored pens and the notebooks were like, if you saw all of our drawers, if you look inside all the colored pens and everything, it's the struggle's real. Love it. I love it, love it, love it. Office supplies. Yes, Misty. Woohoo. Well, I feel like we were good. I feel like this is just really one of those. I feel like the big word this week he's giving me for this is distraction. And I think it's easy for us to put it. For a king not to be distracted, you need to be focused and you need to have your own personal Torah portion. Judges, you need to not be distracted. You need to make sure there's multiple witnesses, that you're not distracted by one witness going, because they're flashy, whatever. You need to have two witnesses at least. We don't get distracted by your flesh, by your emotions. Don't get distracted by those things. And if you do, I'm going to make provision for that, but don't. But if you do, but don't. But don't. Yeah. But don't.
Mm-hmm.
Don't.
No, definitely.
Because we know that nothing separates us from his love. Not life, death, principalities, things present, things to come. Nothing separates us from his love. But some things can separate us from his, I'm going to say his presence. I'm going to say really being put
in a room by yourself.
Being put in a room. Yes.
By yourself.
Some things will separate us. He wants us to be face to face. He said, that like Moshe, he was, You want to be face to face. Let's head to head, nose to nose, like so intimate that we are like one thing. There's things sometimes that saying that not to have another God before him, not to put something where it breaks the connection.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's some things we can do that break the connection. It's not him, but we break that connection. And he doesn't want
No matter
us.
how pretty it looks,
Right,
you know.
right. And of course, we know that he's nothing separates us because he is our high priest and he died. So though, that's the reason why, which we go back to Leviticus, we have all those steps, those ways that we can come into his presence, the ascensions, the way that we can get into his presence
Mm.
from our shame, from our things. There's a way that we can walk through. That's when Yeshua took us through the Lord's Prayer. This is how you can get it for you, not for me. I don't need you to kill animals. I don't need you to do all those things. But sometimes your shame keeps you from coming like, I've shared the story and I've shared the story about my dog. Sometimes if she's gotten the trash can or she's something when I was gone, her shame will keep her from running up and jumping in my lap like usual. So I have to create a way for her to get back into my presence and know that it's okay because she's scared or she's hiding under the bed shaming. No, she's going to be in trouble and finding a way for her to get back on it. That same thing happens to us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He created the way and he created the way. You guys, we have a blessed weekend. This is exciting. Very
I just
good.
want to finish off with the expressions of love that God shows us throughout this
Mm,
portion and how it continues through with him promising a prophet, promising guidance, and promising to have someone to teach us. Because if we'll remember, Deuteronomy is all about Moses kind of recapping his
yes.
life's work and trying to prepare the people. And in this portion, he's letting the people know, listen, someone is going to come after me. You're not going to be left alone. It's like when Yeshua left, he's like, the Holy Spirit is going to, I'm sending somebody. It's always this provision of saying, I'm not leaving you high and dry. I may not be
That's
here
good.
physically, but I will send someone. Listen to them. When I speak to them, it's me speaking. Listen to them so it can go well with you.
That is so good. That's a great thing to end on. And we have the Holy Spirit now. So listen to him. Shema.
Mm-hmm.
Listen. So it'll go well with you. So good. You guys have a blessed weekend. Shabbat shalom to all of you. Those of you who are staying for the after party, we're excited. If you aren't part of the Rooted Cafe, we would love to have you try us out. We have a free, you go to the rootedcafe.com and you can just kind of check out to see what's in there. It's 7 days. We have a free trial. But what's really after that, then you get added to our band, then you get added to all of our live calls. There's so much it can be overwhelming. We give you a guide to help you like make sure you know where to, put your purse and go to the bathroom. We help you jump in and help guide you and all of our instructors are there to help you disciple you if you're looking for a discipleship program so that you can be discipled so that you can walk in the things that he's called you to do and not so that you have to be tethered to us. We want to equip you and send you out. Go and do great things and go develop fellowships and go tag people. And if you're looking for fellowships, I met with someone yesterday, Rebecca. I have to forgot to say
Oh,
this.
nice.
I met with someone I saw, she lives 10 minutes from me. And so we had such a great lunch yesterday together. It was really fun. And so look at our sister finder. If you go to the rootedcafe.com, click the sister finder tab. And if you're not on there, put your name and your zip code and then look and see who's around you and email them and say, hey, let's get together for lunch. And if you're an hour from each other, meet halfway. Find your sisters, get a hold of them. I want to encourage you to do that. That's our heart. We want to equip you. We want to pull you together. We want to send you out. We want you to make the difference that you're called to do. So be blessed and
Amen.
go get those videos from that conference. That was amazing Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Stay for the after party. If you are on Facebook, we're going to leave you guys now, but you can always jump over with us. We'll be on the after party chatting and laughing and being girls. So you all be blessed. Bless you, bless you, bless you. Father bless you. Thanks, Rebecca. See you
Thank
next week.
you.